Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I am your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you live on October 26th, Thursday night here from COG STUDIOS. We have a great show planned for you after a little bit of a situation with our normal early week podcast, so we're glad that we get to talk to you tonight and get you caught up on all your LA Galaxy talk. I'm glad that you could join us as well. And helping me out on this wonderful podcast, a man who needs no introduction, except that I'm going to introduce him anyway. Welcome back to the show, a good friend of the show, and somebody who's going to have a little bit more to do with Corner of the Galaxy coming here forward, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But welcome, Mr. Larry Morgan. Larry, how's it going, buddy?
Good, Josh. Thank you. It's always a pleasure being here in the corner, even though I'm not paid to do it.
Even though you're not paid, that's right. Completely volunteer army. That's what we do here.
Right.
We trick you into thinking perhaps there might be pay someday.
Although I did get some pretzels before the broadcast.
So, I mean, really, and I let you eat at Five Guys beforehand.
That's right.
That's right. So we've covered a lot of ground already early in this day. But the LA Galaxy obviously had a bunch of news, a bunch of interesting news that sort of I don't know.
Is there ever not any interesting news in this team the way it's gone?
It seems that this particular year has been more than a little bit interesting.
I would call it morbid instead of interesting. I would call it morbid, depressing.
It is interesting that whenever you think about it, it's kind of like seeing a crash on the freeway. You don't want to look. You shouldn't slow down. You shouldn't do any of that. But you do. And then you're a little sorry that you did, probably.
And you crash yourself.
Hopefully we won't crash tonight. But yeah, the LA Galaxy, a lot of changes, front office changes. We're going to talk about that. We have LA Galaxy Player Awards we're going to get to talk to as well. Larry and I just finished watching the one of the most exciting games, I think, of the MLS playoffs so far. There's been some blowouts, but Atlanta and Columbus went to penalty kicks. Columbus silencing the large crowd in Atlanta, which was pretty interesting, kind of fun to watch.
What an accomplishment for the crew.
Huge.
What an accomplishment. On the road,
huge. And especially
fantastic.
Whenever, again, we talk about, their situation, and I think we discussed it on the podcast at some time or other. The situation they're going through right now is pretty interesting, and to see them be able to sort of stay in the playoffs and stay, yeah.
Wouldn't that be something? With the rumored move of the crew to Austin, Texas. Well, wouldn't that be something if the crew go on to win MLS Cup? Wouldn't that be something?
It's pretty crazy, right? I mean, that is that would be a little bit of justice, maybe a little social justice in a lot of ways. So anyway, that was an interesting game. The LA Galaxy obviously not in the playoffs. I don't mean to do that to remind you, but actually, no, I do. I mean to remind you. The LA Galaxy not in the playoffs, didn't sniff the playoffs. We're closer to the playoffs at one point. Might have had a chance, but didn't make it. So that's how it is. The big news, of course, that we have to start with, that we have to talk about, Larry, is that the LA Galaxy did make some front office, I would say moves, but I'm going to say
not changes, moves.
Yeah, rearrangements, perhaps.
Yes, rearrange is a good word.
It was like musical chairs, and instead of pulling a chair out, they just sort of stuck the chairs in different corners, and everybody still had a chair.
And hopefully the chair can still support Sigi.
You again with
sorry,
you and Sigi.
I'm sorry.
He's going to hear about it eventually.
But he's big. I mean, come on, he's big. He can't even tuck his shirt in anymore.
He is, and I don't know. It's interesting to see him as a coach, and you have all these super toned athletes, and then you have Sigi on the sideline. I mean, I don't know. It's just interesting. Dominic Kinnear, obviously skinny Dom there is fine, and then you have Sigi standing out on the sidelines. Anyway, I'm sure we'll touch on that again before this is over. But the LA Galaxy do make some news. They reassign LA Galaxy general manager Pete Vagenas. We're going to get into that. But then the sort of, I guess, if you're looking for the positive take on any of this, is that Sigi Schmid has been given the role of being in charge of player personnel. So he is that guy now. It is something that Kevin and I had talked about, because Sigi had mentioned that he wouldn't be waiting for Chris Klein or Pete Vagenas to tell him that Ashley Cole was coming back. He would already know that Ashley Cole is coming back just on his own. So it was something that sort of came, and I have to put in this right away, is that it's also one of these things that everybody sort of knew about whenever he came on. It was something that was expected, and it's not a surprise by anybody.
I just found the news of this rearrangement of the musical chairs just interesting, to say the least. I very rarely heard of someone who is relieved of his duties, and they still keep him on the payroll. And with the parking spot at StubHub, and like I said, a desk, you don't like to have angry employees working for you. You really don't. You know, maybe he's not angry, but I would be angry if I got relieved of my duties without being fired per se. Reassigned is the word, but you don't want somebody angry working for you. I mean, it's logical, right?
Yeah, it is. And I don't know. That's a whole interesting thing. Let's stick with Sigi for a second.
Okay.
And then we can talk about this because it baffles my mind. I mean, I've been close enough to this that I thought I saw the writing on the wall clearly. And I think I have some stories I can tell as well that will sort of, again, frame exactly who the LA Galaxy are betting the future on.
Are the stories, can you say them on the air, the stories?
Yes, they are. They're soccer related. I think we can do some of that.
Okay.
So anyway, but no, Sigi Schmid takes over the player personnel. Again, something that was sort of hinted at for a while. It was something that we had heard rumors about, that he was going to take over this role. And clearly, when you have somebody with the experience of Sigi Schmid, when you have somebody with the experience of Dominic Kinnear, you're not going to let somebody like Pete Vagenas and somebody like Jovan Kirovski outvote those two guys. That was never going to happen. And unfortunately, for Kurt, that was the reality that he lived in. So Kurt Adolfo had to deal with Pete Vagenas and Jovan Kirovski outvoting him on player decisions. So you get Sigi. You know, I think this is a positive. This is a positive because of how negative the other situation was. This is an automatic positive.
Well, and plus, when you talk about Schmid and his personnel responsibilities and what he's capable of, you don't have to look any farther than 2002. We talked about this before the podcast, when he found at a small team in Guatemala, CSD Municipal, he found Carlos Ruiz, who turned into one of the deadliest scorers in MLS history. His first season in 2002, he had 24 goals. He was the league's most valuable player.
Right.
And he scored what still is the only golden goal in the MLS Cup final. In 3 years with the Galaxy, his first stint with the Galaxy, 2002 to 2004, he scored 50 goals. And the reason I know all this is I looked it up. I would not have recalled that on my own. I looked it up. But you got to be impressed, right?
No, I mean, it is. And again, I mean, I think the times have changed a little bit, but again, that's somebody going out and finding some things here, right? I mean, that's certainly...
And he's going to have to do it again.
He's going to have to do it again. Listen, there's some people who have told me that Sigi may bring in as many as 15 new players. If you figure that this roster is 30 people, he's bringing in half of a new team, which does mean that 15 players from this LA Galaxy team will stay, all right?
It could be a crowded training camp roster.
And I think it's going to be. I mean,
it should be.
We already know Sigi is out there on his first scouting trip right now. So he went. The season ended. Sigi was gone. All right. The guys have a week off. So all the players have a week off, and then they come back for 2 to 3 weeks after this. So they'll go ahead and report here, sort of at the end of October, beginning of November, and they'll go for 2 or 3 weeks of training, and then they will be off for the season, and that will be it. So they do have some training and some different things. So Sigi's off. He's looking for people. I don't know. It's interesting to me. Let me get you some quotes from some people, and then we'll continue this discussion about Sigi. Here's Chris Klein talking about the two moves, the quote-unquote moves that they made. And here's his quote. He says, "The results this season did not meet the standard and expectation of this club, our fans, and this city. Sigi has a proven track record building championship-caliber teams in Major League Soccer. He understands this league, its players, and its structure as well as anyone in soccer, and we have full confidence in him as we enter the offseason to strengthen our roster ahead of 2018. Pete has been an important member of this club on and off the field and will continue to play a part in our club as the vice president of soccer operations." Sigi Schmid said, "I am excited for the opportunity to build the LA Galaxy roster into one that is capable of competing for championships. The Galaxy continue to have tremendous support from Dan Beckerman, Mr. Anschutz, and AEG in every aspect of operations, and I look forward to further aligning and improving the LA Galaxy. Galaxy 2, and our academy. This offseason is vital as we look ahead to the coming season, and we will begin the efforts necessary to strengthen our roster immediately." All right, that's from the press release that the LA Galaxy sent out.
If you read between the lines, Sigi is saying, okay, put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is.
It really is.
Listen, there is a shift. I don't know how much of an actual shift this is, Larry, but I certainly think that there are a lot of people who will see this as a shift because they paid attention to it. The LA Galaxy said at the beginning of this year that they were looking to go younger, that they wanted to include their academy in these types of things, and that basically showed that there were a lot of academy players, all right? And that's where you got all the USL players that came up and all this other things. Now, granted, I don't think it was ever their plan to play them as many minutes as they wanted. I'm going to give them that pass.
As early as they wanted to.
As early as they wanted. And I certainly think that there were players who played this year who had no business playing on a Major League Soccer field. Whether they develop into something more, we'll see, but that's the reality.
They will remain nameless, although I think we know who some of them are, who many of them are.
Like Nathan Smith. Oh, wait. We weren't supposed to.
I thought we were not supposed to name names.
Maybe Hugo.
But that is dead on.
maybe Hugo Ariano as well. I mean, he seemed a little overwhelmed. Again, some of these kids are young enough that they can come back and do this. But let's be realistic about what we saw. There were some players that clearly didn't cut it. And again, I don't think the Galaxy wanted to. I don't think they wanted to play those guys. They were forced to play them because they put the team together poorly. So I mean, you can blame them for having to play them.
And I'll never forget, after one game, it might have been early in the season when Kurt was coach or midway in the season when Ashley Cole called out some of these young guys.
Right.
I mean, he really ripped them. He really did.
As he should. I think,
yes.
Again, Ashley Cole does it, though, in a manner that he's professional about it.
Yes, he was.
You feel good about it. I mean, I never felt like Ashley Cole was ungratefully taking stabs at people.
No.
So it's just, again, it's interesting, and but there's a shift going on, right? Because Sigi Schmid isn't going to go back with that. He's not. If he's bringing 15 players into the squad, you can bet there's going to be a fair amount of veterans in that squad.
I was just going to say, a lot of them better be veterans.
Which is what they need.
Leaders. They need leaders.
Well, and no matter whether you think that Sigi is liked or disliked in the particular locker room, that is something for other people to sort of say, but I'll say maybe he's not particularly liked right now. Whether or not he's liked or disliked, he is going to go in and bring in guys that he knows that know him, that are going to be his guys. And that's the same with any organization, right? And we've heard this many times. If you go in and you take over an organization, a lot of times you fire people that you didn't have in that particular organization at the time because they were somebody else's guys. You didn't believe in them. They're not yours. So I think that you're going to see some of that. So it's a lot of turnover. 15. If it's 15 players, it's a lot of turnover in terms of what he's doing. But it's going to be a shift. There's not going to be this complete and total emphasis on using the LA Galaxy Academy and LA Galaxy.
And there shouldn't be. I mean, they paid the price for having to do it this year. They paid the price.
Yeah, well, too big a price, and it was something. And it was a very important year, and they fell absolutely flat on it. So it's just
18-8.
Yeah, it's rather symmetrical if you think about it. I mean, that's about that. Maybe that's
not the word I would use. I would just use flat out depressing.
I was going to say the most positive spin I can put on it is that it's symmetrical. They've been symmetrical a lot this year. It was like 17 and 7 at one point. I don't know. It was. I track way too many things whenever it comes to the LA Galaxy. So I mean that's what you're seeing. So you're going to see Sigi Schmid go out there. He's going to go find his own guys. He's going to find veterans. And the LA Galaxy are going to quietly shift away from this, hey, we needed to really focus in on our academy and LA Galaxy too. And I'll say this before you go. I'll say that you can't give up on the Galaxy Academy. It's too soon. All right, USL is only since 2014 have the Galaxy had a team. So you're talking about academy kids getting a chance to play professional games for the first time really in these last 3 years. That's nowhere near long enough to develop some of these things that you're eventually going to develop. And, as I've said about 1 million times, it's a numbers game. You're going to have to go through 99, 100, 200 kids before you get that one guy who helps out your team. And then you're going to have to go through double that to find the one guy who's a star. So, but that's a positive. If you can get those guys and then eventually sell them, which is what Major League Soccer needs to do, and I've always said this, they need to sell more players. If you look at Atlanta right now, who's now out of the playoffs, if you look at Atlanta right now, look at all the young talent they have. Everybody gives them credit for going out and getting those guys like, Joseph Martinez and Almiron and all these guys. And yes, they have it. How, are they going to be able to keep it? One, they shouldn't. They shouldn't be able to keep it. Mm-hmm. Those guys look like they have some serious interest from other places. You need to sell, you get your money back, and you go find the next person that you're going to bring up and start moving that direction. That's sort of what I see the Galaxy needing to do.
You were talking about the Galaxy's shift, and I agree with you 100% on that. And if you really look at it closely, if you really study it, it sounds like the same strategy Bruce Arena used when he was with the Galaxy, where he really had an emphasis on veterans in key positions. And yes, some of these players were old, but he could rely on them. He could count on them. These guys were leaders. So it sounds like maybe they learned a thing or two from Bruce Arena as well. Who knows?
I mean, it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's more common sense. Maybe
Yeah.
you don't need to learn. Maybe you know that you need a good mix of veterans and younger players.
Yeah.
Or
players familiar with MLS.
With MLS, with being on a team, with being on a winning team. I mean, you're going to have to, which is crazy to say, Larry, the Galaxy have to change a culture right now because their culture that they had this last year is a losing culture.
It really knocked them for a loop. There's no doubt about that. It really knocked them flat.
Losing absolutely opens up every wound that you could possibly have. So whenever you're bad, everybody doesn't like each other. Nobody gets along, right? And lots of people talk. So,
it's funny. The last home game of the year, they played Minnesota.
Right.
3-0 win.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard something in the latter stages of that game that I hadn't heard at StubHub Center in a long time. I heard the fans actually chanting, "Hail the Galaxy."
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't remember the last time I had heard that chant at StubHub. "Hail the Galaxy."
It's
It was a long. I can't remember the last time I heard it down there.
well, one, your hearing's
And
not
it wasn't
that good.
"Fail the Galaxy." It was "Hail the Galaxy."
No, well, your hearing's not that good, so who knows
I know.
whether or not
I can hear a few things though.
Every once in a while. That's there's everybody behind the scenes. We have to turn Larry's volume way up. If you listen to it, it'd probably blow your eardrums out.
Probably, but it's comfortable to me.
That's right. You're in a happy place right now. If he takes off the headphones, though, he can't hear it all.
Although I do have my right one in.
Okay,
so,
all right. So you could hear out of one ear.
But "Hail the Galaxy," I hadn't heard that in a long time.
Well, I mean, there was some positivity after the Minnesota game, but I'll tell you right now, Minnesota is worse than the LA Galaxy. Yeah. I mean, DC United was worse than the LA Galaxy. Colorado Rapids were worse than the LA. Yeah, I know the LA Galaxy finished last in Major League Soccer. Last, they won the wooden spoon. By the way, I've heard that the Angel City Brigade is going to actually get the official wooden spoon trophy from, I think, Chicago.
Wow.
At one point, and it's going to go to them, and I've already offered to host it here in the studio.
What an honor.
I will put up a pedestal for it, and we'll make sure that every podcast we do, it's in that shot.
Love it.
All right, so I'll
the
stick
wooden spoon.
I offer out my services, and we can, I don't know, I was thinking about putting a 24/7 webcam on it, so that way people could always check out the wooden spoon, or a little reminder.
Or have some players sign it.
I don't
I don't think they would.
I don't think the players want to touch anything, all right? No. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, they finished last in the league, but having said that, there are teams in this league that were worse than them. The results just didn't show it, and I'm also not of the opinion that they deserved to be any higher than they were. This is who they were this year.
Yes, they were.
So anyway, I mean, this is sort of that thing, and I'm reading some of the chat room, and there's some good points, and some of it is, Bruce Arena had an emphasis on winning. He didn't care who the players were. He just wanted to win, which is the attitude that Sigi Schmid needs to come in and have. It doesn't matter who it is, what it is. Bruce Arena won with older players, that's great. If you can do it with younger players, that's great. Do whatever, but have a plan. Because I'll tell you right now, there is no way on God's green earth that Pete Vagenas, Chris Klein, and Jovan Karofsky, the guys in charge of putting players on the field for the LA Galaxy in this offseason, had a workable plan, because it fell apart from the very beginning.
Sure did, and I think it started early on, one with the injury to Robbie Rogers.
Yes.
And Leggett at midfield. Those two guys, losing those two guys early on, really started the dominoes falling.
So a bit, and here's another thing that I'm constantly fighting. Bruce Arena ruined this team. All right, Bruce Arena in 2015 and 2016, Bruce didn't have good years, right? Okay, it's story time. I can't handle it anymore. It's story time. Pete Vagenas remaining in this vice president of soccer operations role is crazy. There is no general manager for the LA Galaxy right now. Let's just go to that right now. There is no general manager. Right, Sigi Schmid took over the player personnel roles, and Pete Vagenas will pick up all of the other general manager duties. So if you're talking about who the GM is right now, it's split between Sigi and Pete Vagenas. So if you want to say
that's an unhealthy mix.
If you want to say that he got demoted, you can, except that he still has a VP in front of his name. There were some people, I think, within the organization who were trying to say that he got fired. Because he was removed from the GM. One of my good buddies, Chris Tucker, said, whenever I got fired, I still didn't have a parking space. Does Pete Vagenas have a parking space? And so...
That's something I can't understand. I really can't. It just makes no sense.
Here is the thing, and I've said it a lot, and maybe it goes again, that if you're looking for the architect of this team, you point to one person, and it's Pete Vagenas, all right? Now, you can point to Chris Klein because Chris Klein appointed Pete Vagenas in that role. That's fine. You can do that.
And he approves all the transactions,
ultimately approves. Although, it certainly seems like Pete has, basically whatever he could do. Pete and Jovan Kirovski could outvote Kurt Adolfo. So you have a guy who was the 2015 Academy director, Pete Vagenas. He becomes in 2016. He becomes the VP of soccer operations. All right. Then he becomes the general manager less than a year later. So how many years of experience at being a GM and doing all this stuff? Not many for Pete Vagenas, right? And you're going up against a guy, whether you love him or not, and whether you can even tolerate him. But Kurt Adolfo has 17 years of coaching experience, right? So you're going to tell me that those guys get to outvote the coach? And I've already told people a bunch of times that the Galaxy needed a striker, and they didn't go out and get a striker. Let's just say a former coach probably asked for a striker, all right? And the LA Galaxy couldn't provide, and instead they had another midfielder. It's these types of things. Whenever you go back and look, you could even go back into, maybe even a move in LA Galaxy 2 whenever Jack McBean was on a tear, scoring goals left and right, would have probably broke the USL scoring record. He was scoring goals just crazy. Almost won the Golden Boot in USL, and he didn't play the last 3 months of the season. He missed it by like 2 or 3 goals. All right, all this stuff. And they moved him to Coventry City. At the time, it looked like maybe it was a smart move. Coventry City went through 3 coaches in 6 months. All right, so he didn't get any playing time. Really, you can see the regression in his career already.
But he had his share of fish and chips.
I'm sure he did. So all those things. You had a guy who was in charge of academy and in charge of the VP of soccer operations who could make these moves and did make these moves, and they don't pan out. And you can go back and look at move after move after move that didn't pan out, but yet this man is still employed by the LA Galaxy. You can say Roman Alessandrini would have been it's a great sign. Let's give him a positive on Roman Alessandrini.
He was a good signing. He was.
Maybe, perhaps, if you want to read between the lines, maybe some people in the Galaxy's front office weren't sold on Roman Alessandrini. All right? And if that's the case, somebody else had to convince them in order to get Roman Alessandrini, okay? Again, you look at the moves that were made, and things are falling apart for the Galaxy this entire year. They did not make smart moves.
Well, they kept bringing in midfielders.
There's like 30 midfielders. If Sigi wanted to get rid of 15 players, 15 of them would be midfielders. All right?
And I don't think you know the difference.
You might not. So, I mean, you go back and you can look at this. Nigel de Jong deal. Nigel de Jong. We've theoried about this, and I think Kevin on the show has really sort of opened up our eyes and was able to get some concrete information as far as the Galaxy didn't want to offer the Nigel de Jong the designated player contract, and that's why he ended up going to Galatasaray. All right? That's it. That's a simple answer. Who was in charge of making that decision? Think about it, because I'm pretty sure that we've heard that members of the former coaching staff of the LA Galaxy said that with Nigel de Jong, they had a good chance at winning MLS Cup. And if Nigel de Jong would have stayed on that team, he would have been voted Player of the Year by the media. And being he wasn't, people were definitely going to go and try and give it to Jelle Van Dam. But again, that got stolen from him whenever everybody voted in Giovanni Dos Santos. And we're going to talk about that in the team awards section too. But okay, so now you've looked at, you look at the people making the decisions, and those people are still in charge. Against the coach's wishes. We always thought Bruce was infallible, right? Nobody could tell Bruce what to do, Larry. That was sort of... And if you talk to Bruce, he would tell you that nobody could tell Bruce what to do, right?
True.
So you look at that, and you can see that Bruce got told what to do. There were multiple occasions. I think we talked about Giovanni Dos Santos. Seems like Bruce got told what to do with that. He was going to play Giovanni Dos Santos. Steven Gerrard. Seems like Bruce got told what to do on that. The people who made these decisions are still in charge.
Yeah, I just can't understand how you can hope to rebuild, and as you just pointed out, with the same people in their positions. It makes no sense, Josh. I mean, come on. It's common sense. How can you expect things to change when there's no change?
There is no change. Kevin in his article, by the way, being Kevin, we were trying to have Kevin on Thursday night. Kevin's covering the World Series. He's in Houston, and he asked me if he could pass, that way he could cover the World Series. So I said, hey, being I don't pay you anything, I'm not going to make you do that. But Kevin, his article, if you go to the LA Times, after disastrous season, Galaxy start rearranging the deck chairs. Kevin was convinced that nobody would get that reference. All right, so I'm here to tell you that's a Titanic reference about them rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic while it was sinking. All right, so Kevin just compared the LA Galaxy to the Titanic sinking and them rearranging the deck chairs.
But who's in the orchestra?
That's right. Who's playing, right? They played music to drown by, all right?
That's right.
That's how it worked in there. So Kevin went and wrote some good articles. Let's go ahead and hear some quotes from Chris Klein. He says, Klein says, "We're holding ourselves accountable and looking at this and trying to figure out what is the best way forward. There is accountability, certainly, from top to bottom. We take responsibility for that, understanding that there are times you go through this. We made a big change in the last offseason, and we need to continue to build and add to that, and we're confident that we can take steps forward." And then Chris goes on to say, he says, "Trying to make all these changes in a short amount of time, I think we underestimated a little bit the impact that would have. We all have learned through this season, and so we're looking at it and saying, okay, how can we be better into 2018? Finally, he says, we know that we have to have an increase in scouting." This is going to be important. Pay attention to this. "We know that we have to have an increase in scouting because our league continues to change, and that continues to be a bigger part of what we need going forward. So we will add to what we're doing there and continue to sophisticate our scouting operations. It's coaching, it is our medical staff, and getting all of that team in place to a significant degree is our focus right now." It's Chris Klein. Yes.
I just found that strange when you quoted Chris as saying, "We will continue to build, blah, blah, blah." Well, what did they build this season? They built the worst team in Major League Soccer.
I mean, you look at the...
I'm not proud of that.
Find a piece. There's our pieces. Roman Alessandrini.
There are
That's
a few pieces. Yes, there are.
That's a piece. Okay, good. To give me another piece you can build
Jonathan
off of.
Dos Santos.
Okay, Jonathan Dos Santos. I agree. You can build around Jonathan Dos Santos.
Ashley Cole if he comes back.
I think, and you know what? Let me read this part of...
Sorry to interrupt.
No. This is good. Let's see if I can find it. I highlighted it so I can do it. All right, here's Kevin's article. I want you to pay particular attention to this, all right? This is, people are used to the show here, Larry. Whenever I say pay attention to things, they understand what I'm saying.
Or they put it on pause and go get a drink and then come back.
Then they come back and they get their pencil ready to write it all down. Kevin's article says, designated players Roman Alessandrini, Giovanni Dos Santos, and Jonathan Dos Santos are signed for next season, as are defenders Michael Ciani and Hugo Ariano, midfielders Joao Pedro and Sebastian Lletget, and forward Giassi Zardes. The Galaxy are also likely to pick up contract extensions on defenders Daniel Steres and Dave Romney, midfielder Emmanuel Boateng, and Baggio Hasidic, and perhaps defender Ashley Cole. If you're going to place...
Ashley Cole's a no-brainer to me.
If you're going to put a bet... Well... It's not a no-brainer. I will at least say that it's not a no-brainer, and here's why.
He's going to be 37. So
that's it. He's 37. You better have a good backup because you don't know if he was great this year. I think he only missed like 3 or 4 games. I mean, really, just a guy who went out there and gave it his absolute all.
And he played well as the season went on,
Yeah,
too.
he may have missed 6 games total, but yeah, played really well and had to put up with all the crap that he's never had to put up with at any place he's ever played before. Ashley Cole's still a gamble because he's going to be 37 years old. He says he wants to play until his legs give out, and he said, thankfully, that hasn't happened yet. And so it's always the yet, because it could be next year. If you're really playing the smart, Larry, and you know you have a really good option there that's one probably cheaper, because Ashley Cole's not going to come cheap his last year. The LA Galaxy probably owed him money after Bruce Arena left, and that didn't come through. All right, so now they're going to have to probably pay up if they want Ashley Cole. And is he worth it in Major League Soccer for a defender? You can get defenders for cheaper, Larry.
If they have a viable option behind him. But still, if it was up to me and seeing the quality of play he turned in this season, I would bring him back. I think he has one good year left. Even though he's going to be, even though he's 37, I think he has one good year left. And let's face it, besides him, they don't have a left back. They don't.
No.
Although Dave Romney can play there.
But he says that's not his position. And it's not.
Although he played there in college, but you're right, he's better in the middle.
Somebody who would know way better than me said the one criticism of Ashley Cole is that he can get beat by faster players, that's for sure. And you can certainly see that. All right, we have a call. 818, who's this?
Hi, this is Ronald.
Hey, Ronald, thanks
Ronald.
for calling in. What do you got?
I just wanted to add, I know you guys are talking about the changes in the front office that aren't happening and all that, but, I mean, what opportunities did they also mess up with LAFC coming in? And not only that, but, I mean, they already have a Galaxy fan base that's really upset, and then we have another team coming in, and they're not showing anything that is changing. So, I don't know, I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, no, I think
that's a real good question.
I think that's a great question, Ronald. I will say this: we're gonna discuss it here.
LAFC is they're just loving it. They're loving it.
Of course they are. They have to feel real confident right now, Ronald. At least in my opinion, they have to feel great. They made themselves, without playing a single game, the number 1 option in Los Angeles, which is scary. The Galaxy had a chance to go ahead and put distance between them and to transition away from Bruce Arena and make that a successful transition and basically show LAFC that it's going to be very difficult to come in and take their fans and do all this other stuff. But I don't feel that way anymore. I think LAFC is in the driver's seat right now, which is a total and utter failure by the LA Galaxy front office, even to the fact where, they've never once mentioned the LAFC. They don't mention LAFC. They say the other team. And LAFC kind of plays that game too. It's childish, and in my opinion, it lacks an understanding of the market that they're in. They're going to have to coexist. You have to acknowledge that those guys are there, and with being as bad as you were right now, I think you're hoping that people don't know that there's another soccer team in Los Angeles. Ronald, what do you think about the LA Galaxy in there?
Yeah. I mean, I personally have a lot of friends who are so upset at this whole season that they actually bought season tickets and to put their deposit and everything into LAFC because they say, you know what, this team doesn't really seem to show that they care about their own fans. They don't change. They don't really respond to them directly. So, I'm not going to waste my time if they're not going to talk to me. So, I mean, I'm sticking with them, but, I'm just sitting here watching everything, and it's just crazy to see how it's going.
Go ahead, Larry.
I think that goes back to something that I think you pointed out, other people have pointed out. It's the Galaxy's arrogance.
Yep.
We're the Galaxy. Things are going to be fine. We're the Galaxy. Don't worry about us. And I think they got a real good slap in the face this season.
They got punched across the jaw. Awesome. Yeah. Ronald, anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Great question.
Awesome. Thanks for the call, Ronald. We appreciate it. All right, Ronald, call in. If you want to call in as well, I know that some people have the number memorized, and that's good. But please get in on this 949-734-4217. I say this.
Say it slow.
No, it's okay. It's on.
Okay.
It's on the screen.
Okay.
I put it up. I wouldn't do that to people. I will say this: LAFC doesn't have a team.
They haven't played one game.
So I ran into LAFC's what is it? Is it general manager?
General
manager John Thorrington. I had never met him before. I ran into him someplace.
Said, he knew who you were, right?
Of course he did.
Oh my!
No, he had no idea, but that's fine. He knows now, and he remembered my name. He seems like a nice enough guy.
Good.
I ran into him. Somebody asked him how it was going. I was just talking with some other people, and somebody asked John Thorrington how it was going, and he goes, we're still undefeated. And it's a joke. It's a joke, but it's totally true because when you have an LA Galaxy team that is totally defeated, right? It's very easy for you to sit there and say, well, we're undefeated. My sister went to school at George Washington University in Washington, D.C., all right? They don't have a football team. They have shirts that you can buy in the student union there that says George Washington GW football team undefeated. That's sort of it's funny because then, you're laughing. But in this particular case, it's true. It is true. And diehard Galaxy fans aren't going anywhere. I get that. I'm not saying that they ever would, and I wouldn't accuse people, going the other direction, jumping ship. That's not happening. But what is happening is the battle for the casual fan and for the understanding of who has been in Los Angeles. I'll tell you right now that if you went to the casual fan and you're going to go to them in 2018, they're going to know that LAFC joined, and some of them won't know the LA Galaxy even exist. All right?
Sure. I mean, I think it's part of the attraction being a new franchise, a new team, just something new to root for. And, after a season in which the Galaxy won a glorious 18-8, who could blame them? Who could blame them for, trying something else?
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
18-8. I still can't get over that.
Symmetrical. Just saying.
I know, nice round numbers. I know.
It makes me. It's the only way I can remember it.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Let's go to LA Galaxy Insider Talk to Chris Klein. There's some quotes in here I want to get. Chris Klein says, we always knew when we made the quick transition that all this job is a lot, and there's a lot that goes into the Galaxy, not just the first team roster. When we brought Sigi in, there was an understanding that he knows how to build teams in our league and knows what it takes. So bringing in that expertise, we were always going to defer to that. Our focus needs to be on getting things right and making the right decisions and building our roster so that we have the opportunity to do that. If our focus is on being excellent, then I believe that we'll get to where we need to go. Going through that process with someone that has done that, not at just one place, but everywhere he's gone, gives us a tremendous amount of confidence going forward. Chris Klein also said about Sigi Schmid now having full control. He says he says he has full control over player and staffing decisions during an offseason where plenty of movement is expected on both sides. And Pete Vagenas will return to the vice president of soccer operations role that he held during the 2016 season. Pete still has, this is Chris saying this, Pete still has a big role going forward helping the soccer operations from the academy to Galaxy 2 areas and areas of the first team. The club needs a lot of people, and Pete has been very good at that role in the past, and he'll continue to play a big role in that going forward. Yes.
My question with all these reassignments, even though things stay the same, if the Galaxy have another subpar season, another losing season, maybe not to the same degree as this one, if they have another season to forget, how many heads will roll? I don't think they'll be reassigned again. How many heads would roll if they fall flat again?
I'm honestly shocked that Dan Beckerman didn't get involved. He has with the LA Kings, firing Dean Lombardi and Daryl Sutter, right?
Daryl Sutter,
I'm not a huge hockey fan. Right. That was a good pull for me. So
very good, very good.
Only because Kevin said it 13 times, and I eventually remembered it.
Right.
So he went in there, and these are guys who were well respected throughout the league. I mean, very well respected.
They won 2 Stanley Cup titles.
So you go in there and you do that. Yeah. I'm going to give Dan the benefit of the doubt for one reason, and I'll tell you my non-benefit of the doubt take as well. But the benefit of the doubt is...
Non-benefit of the doubt
Yeah,
take.
I know. Is that he's allowing these guys to try to fix the situation that they got into.
A little latitude, okay.
A little latitude. Hey, I'm sure they had a talk. I'm sure they sat down. I'm sure he said, naughty, be better.
Perhaps a little bit more colorful language than naughty.
I think I hit it on the head, actually.
Yeah, okay.
So, you look at that and you see what he could possibly do. He could still go to them, which I expected him to do. I expected him to come in there and fire everybody. I expected him to fire Chris Klein. I expected him to fire Pete Vagenas. Chris Klein is not going to fire himself. I'm telling you that right now. I don't think that's happening.
But I could see him also giving him a second chance, just like you alluded to. I could see that. Although, would I agree with that? Probably not.
It's tough. It's tough. You can't. It's not like the Galaxy did okay.
Yeah.
All right?
They didn't.
And here's the other thing.
They didn't.
No. Here's the other thing. Even with Sigi Schmid, I know there's lots of people who put faith in Sigi. That's fine. You can. He certainly has a track record of doing so. He's the all-time winningest coach in Major League Soccer. His assistant coach, Dominic Kinnear, who is coming back next year, and basically everybody said that so far.
That's good.
We'll see until there's a coaching option open somewhere. But he's coming back, is the third winningest coach in all-time history.
And who's second? Bruce Arena.
Right. So, I mean, you have it. Here is the criticism of Sigi Schmid and Dominic Kinnear, that they are very much MLS 1.0. They're old school thinkers. They're more defensive than they are offensive. They'd rather sit back and bunker, a lot like people used to complain about Bruce Arena. All right. And if you look at Sigi Schmid, he certainly sat back and bunkered whenever he got the LA Galaxy.
Except that bunker had a
big hole in it.
Big hole in it this year, boy, I'll tell you.
2-8-4. Sigi Schmid is 2-8-4 with the LA Galaxy. I'll tell you another great stat. This is one of my favorite stats. In his last 34 games, we all know an MLS season is 34 games. He coached 20 games with Seattle before he got fired. All right, and he coached 14 games with the LA Galaxy. That's 34 games. With Seattle, he was 20 points in 20 games. All right, if you add the 10 points that he got with the LA Galaxy, that gives him 30 points in 34 games. If you do that by points per game average, he finishes below what the LA Galaxy finished this year. Okay, just giving you a heads up on that.
Well done, Sigi.
Yeah, I was good. I mean, it's a serious concern. Now,
it is.
Was Sigi?
Has he
lost it?
Has he lost it? Yes.
Don't know. There's certainly
it's hard to tell. It really is.
You can say that the situation in Seattle whenever he left was not a good situation.
Correct.
By the way, the LA Galaxy finished, and we've talked about this, with a minus 22 goal differential. All right, which is what did we say? Was it the worst in the league? I'm gonna have to look it up.
It was
second worst.
Minnesota
right?
had the worst, then the Galaxy, and then San Jose.
Yeah, goals. It was goals against. That's what it was.
Goals against.
Yeah. So and you're right.
Goals against.
And Minnesota United did have the worst goal
by 3.
Yeah, by 1.
By 1?
Yeah, by 1. So,
the goal differential.
Yeah, goal differential, and then goals, it was 3. So San Jose Earthquakes gave up 60 goals and had a minus 21 goal differential. LA Galaxy gave up 67 goals, new franchise record, 67 goals and had a minus 22 record. And Minnesota United, an expansion team that didn't exist in MLS form last year, who finished above the LA Galaxy this year, allowed 70 goals and a minus 23 goal differential.
That's more than 2 goals per game.
DC United, Minus 29. There you go.
Minus 29.
And they scored 6, and they only they actually allowed 7 goals less than the LA Galaxy to show how bad their offense was this year. So yeah, minus 29. That's special for
We
DC.
thought the Galaxy's offense was bad.
Again, here's one. You know, the San Jose Earthquakes made it to the playoffs. They had a minus 21 goal differential. I mean, that's crazy. Even the Colorado, if you look at DC United, they had a minus 29. They finished above the LA Galaxy. Just remember that.
Incredible.
They technically tied with them, but they finished above them in the league. But anyway,
Yeah, but who's being picky?
of those 22 goals, of the 22 goal differential, Sigi has 18 of those goals on his. Now, he was...
Wow.
Listen, I firmly believe that Sigi was always focused on next year. I think he looked at this team, and you have to remember, Larry, he was around for a very long time. He got fired by Seattle. He wasn't doing anything. He could be seen at almost every LA Galaxy game this year. He was at LA Galaxy 2 games. I mean, I know we've heard the official story is that it all happened very quickly, right? But I don't believe that. Just in my head,
I don't either.
I don't believe that. I think that Sigi had his sights on this job. It's his hometown. It's where he wanted to be. He knew Cardinalfo was struggling with the team. He knew the team was struggling, period. And I think he went in there and over a period of time eventually worked his way into the job role. All right, and so hey, he's a coach. He wants to coach a team. I get it. It makes some sense. And then he negotiated to have that player control. Again, makes sense. You can see it. I mean, I think Sigi will do much better than what they had this year.
He can't do much worse.
That's what I know. People say that. I caution everybody against that. You absolutely can have a year. I saw the 30, the LA Galaxy, I think, are 32nd or 33rd. In league history for the worst team record this year, right? So they finish, if you look at league history, they are the 33rd worst team or 32nd worst team in league history. There are a lot of teams that are underneath the LA Galaxy, and I've seen bad seasons, and I think like the 2013 DC United team was one of them that was horrible.
Oh, my goodness.
Won the U.S. Open Cup that year, but nonetheless was horrible. The Metro Stars were horrible. The Tampa Bay Mutiny were horrible. I mean, these are really bad teams. But even them, they're like twice as bad as the LA Galaxy were this year. So you can be worse. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the LA Galaxy could improve. But again, if you're bringing in 15 players, Sigi already said that even in training camp that they're having right now, whenever they come back, that there will be some trialists at those. So he's already going to start scouting and working that particular area. But who's not attached to teams? I mean, maybe some other MLS players, I guess. Maybe some NASL, maybe some USL guys.
Guys from South America, maybe, something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe. Although I would imagine they're still in season. I mean, most people are in season right now. So
There might be some guys out of contract. It's amazing where they can find players nowadays.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But yeah, so I mean, that's what I think that Sigi's going to have more leash than Cardinalfo did. One, because he's
because of his track record.
Because of his track record, and two, they switched the rules for him, right? I mean, he's going to get a longer chance. He's going to get to decide who he brings in and who he plays. It's going to be easy to either give him credit or fault him, but at the same time, because of his track record, they're going to let him go.
Well, let's hope the front office lives up to that.
I think
it's going to be a test. It's going to be a test. If things don't go well early on, it's going to be a real test to see what they do.
It's very interesting. Everybody in the same roles, and
But myself, I hope to give him a chance. I really do, because of his track record, because of what he has done with Seattle, with Columbus, with the Galaxy. He has a track record of turning teams into championship contending teams.
Yeah, he does, and he should give
him a chance.
He should get that. And I think, again, if I told you, Larry, you had to make this is either a positive move or a negative move. I'm going to tell you it's positive.
It is positive
because it was so negative of what happened last year.
Yes.
You can't not have a positive. So that's where we sit. But again, Pete Vagenas was in 2015 was the academy director. Okay, so 2016 he becomes the vice president of soccer operations.
Okay.
And then he's the general manager, and now he's back. Now he's not. Now he's back to soccer VP. He's still going to be doing GM things. One of the GM things, I don't know if I said it earlier. One of the GM things you have to do, you get to sort of argue over the schedule, which I always thought was interesting. Bruce was really good at it, by the way. But he would argue over the schedule. You look at the string of games the LA Galaxy played towards the end of this year, where it was back to back to back, midweek, weekend, midweek, weekend, midweek, over and over and over again.
Didn't they have one period where they played like 4 matches in like 11 days?
Yeah, it was super condensed.
Ridiculous.
It's the GM's job to make that go away, to figure out a way to move those games and then make sure that everybody's happy about it and you could do it. And as you maneuver and massage that schedule, right? You can look at it and you can say, hey, okay, good. This is better for us. This is how it goes. Bruce Arena was great at that. He used to switch games all the time, and you'd look at him and go, oh, this is great. Well, the person who was in charge of that this year was Pete Vagenas as the general manager. I would imagine that being Sigi has only been given the player personnel roles, that it's probably going to be Pete's job again to manage the schedule.
Well, I'm sure what's making the schedule even harder now is the presence of the Chargers at StubHub Center. That's got to make things really difficult.
You looked at the field. You saw it. Did you think that they did a good job with the field?
I did. I thought it looked better than what I thought it would be. My great fear was that the Chargers would be playing on like a Sunday, and it was raining all weekend long, and the field would be torn to shreds, and the Galaxy would play the following Wednesday. But it never happened, thank goodness. And the field, remarkably, was in good shape. I was very surprised.
Yeah.
Very surprised.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. I talked to some players, and they said the field's in worse condition than people think it is. Yeah, they said
because of the NFL, more than likely.
Yeah. Oh, and that's what I said. I go. You think it was?
They don't use little plastic cleats; they use those big suckers.
Yeah,
a lot of them do.
A player had this large raspberry on his leg, and I went up and said,
Ouch.
"How did you get that?" And then this player said, "Sliding near the end line, right?" And it's like, "Oh, okay." And
Ouch.
so and I've had other players come up and tell me, "Hey, the field is chopped up a little bit." So it is affecting things. It's not horrible. It still looks pretty. Excuse me, it still looks pretty good.
It's amazing what green dye can do.
There is. Everybody noticed it on the players' jerseys, right? You can see it. You see the green, and sometimes that's fertilizer. Most of the time it's not. It's green dye.
Most of the time it's not.
Yeah, we did it. You know that. You play golf. You know.
That's right.
That's what they say. Anyway, so that's what we have right now. I will say this, and this I'll give Larry. I'll give you like sort of a final talking point on the Pete Vagenas Sigi Schmid thing, and I'll give mine. Actually, you go first. Give me your final thought just on this particular move, if it has done anything.
Frankly, no. It's change for the sake of no change. I mean, if you're going to remove a guy as general manager, you get rid of him. I mean, sorry, see you later. Go to the unemployment line, collect unemployment. You don't reassign him someplace else in the front office, or especially to do the job he used to have. I mean, I've said it before. You don't want a disgruntled employee working for you. It just defies logic to me.
It's and I'll sort of continue off that, is that it's scary to me that people were able to be rewarded almost for mediocrity, because if you're not,
Yes,
if
I agree.
if you fail as hard as the Galaxy failed, there should be some consequences.
You take blame. I mean, you take the blame.
Chris Klein says that we're being accountable, and I would disagree.
That's not accountable.
No, that's not. It's like, hey, yeah, I'm being accountable. I mean, nothing. There's no accountability here.
Yeah.
Somebody would say again that, oh, well, he got removed from the general manager, and that was, Larry, you said it was probably his dream job.
He told us that at the press conference, which announced his hiring. He told me that it was his dream job.
So you can understand that, I'm sure he wanted to do a good job. Here's the thing. I don't like talking about this stuff. I don't like talking about people's jobs because, who am I? All right? I played JV soccer in high school. All right? I was better at baseball. I was better at baseball. Not good enough to
You
actually.
had some pretty well-known teammates too in baseball, right?
No. Like who? Who do you think?
In high school, didn't you have
No, I don't think so.
Or you played against maybe some guys who are in the pros now?
I'm sure I did. There were a couple. I can't remember
Okay.
any names, but yeah, there were some. I'm old now. Some of those guys are probably getting ready to retire.
You're old.
Yeah.
Hey, come on.
I watched Dustin.
You're half my age.
I watched Dustin Pedroia play at Arizona State, where I went to school. So I mean, there were some guys there.
Okay.
But anyway, no, I mean, but that's so. Who am I to tell these guys whether or not they're doing their job? Well, I'll tell you who I am now. I've been watching and following and covering the LA Galaxy since 2009. All right, I've watched a ton of games. I watch a ton of soccer. I played soccer. I understood soccer. I coached soccer whenever I was younger. I get it.
You know bad soccer from good soccer.
I can definitely tell you that stuff. And I'll be the first to admit that I don't know everything. I love talking to players, like one-on-one, when we can talk tactics, because they help me see so much more of the game. I don't see it all. I can tell a good player from a bad player. I can tell a good team from a bad team. I can tell whenever a team was constructed poorly, and I can certainly, by talking to people, understand their perspectives on all of this. So I can do all that. And if I can sit there and do that, so can everybody else. And I think everybody looked at this team. They did the eye test. You look at the stats. There's nothing on this team that justifies anybody keeping their job, and that's the problem. All right. So that's where I sit. And if that means that whenever I see Pete Vagenas and he gets mad because I said that he should be fired, well, then unlike some people on the internet who get to be anonymous about it, I actually get to stand there in front of Pete and say, yeah, I said it. I said, I believe it. And then I'll tell you why. And here's why I believe it. Let's go through all these things. And then I get to listen. So, I mean, hey, it's a dangerous game sometimes for us, Larry. You go and you say these things. These don't go without consequences. And I'll tell you right now that this podcast and the site do get read and listened to by players, by coaches, by front office staff. I'm not saying all the time. We're not a must listen. I don't think they care all that much, but there's accountability for us.
Yeah, and my question about this year is, why did the Galaxy have to leave us with so much food for thought? Why did they have to do it?
Well, okay, so go to this. Is this the most important offseason? This upcoming offseason is the most important one.
I think it is.
Ever in Galaxy history.
I think it is, especially after the season that they just endured. I think it's even more important than the offseason following the 2008 season when Bruce Arena had taken over. He was approaching his first full season on the job. I happen to think it is, because they have to win some fans back. They have to win the team's confidence back. They have to win their, stature back. I mean, this team suffered a serious series of knockdowns.
Yeah.
This season. I mean, I might be in a minority, but I think it's the most important offseason in the team's history, especially what it faces.
I think it is now. I think it is now. I don't think it should have been.
No.
All right. The most important one for me was last year, when you needed to transition away from Bruce Arena, when you needed to find a good solid foothold on the city of Los Angeles,
with a certain team coming in.
I actually say their name.
Yeah.
With LAFC coming in.
Yes.
You had to do it. You had to show that you were still the big boss. Now,
and they failed miserably.
And it's, again, we talked about the arrogance. We're the LA Galaxy, right? The inexperience with how to put a team together, and the fact that they couldn't even approximate it.
And their inexperience with dealing with this level of adversity.
Yeah. Oh, it's massive amounts. Now, I'm not saying the Galaxy haven't been poor in the past. You look at 2006, 2007, 2008. Those 2007, 2008 were bad years. Really bad years.
Landon Donovan said the 2018 was the worst team in the MLS. And he told me that.
And the 2008 LA Galaxy team would kick the 2017's butt. It wouldn't even be close.
But I wouldn't want to watch that game. I'm sorry. I would not want to watch it.
I would.
I wouldn't.
I think it might be interesting.
Okay. You go to the game. You tell me what happened.
I'll write a game report on it. No problem.
Write a game report.
No, but I mean, now you look at it. You talked about that one. I would say this last offseason, it should have been the most important. They had so much on it. Now
There's a real good argument for that. Yes.
Now it is this season, but now you know what they do? They actually start they could have started it above LAFC, right? They could have been above. Hey, hi, we're still the LA Galaxy. We got Bruce Arena's not here anymore, but we got rid of some of those guys, and but we're still really good.
There's that arrogance again.
Again, that's what they could have been, and they should have been able to be arrogant. You can be arrogant when you're good.
Yes.
Or you can't whenever you're bad, and they were bad. And now they start not on a level playing field with LAFC. They start below LAFC, which is ridiculous. So when you look at that and how important this offseason is, it's obviously the most important one in league history. And I said, I think on the last show, if you don't think the LA Galaxy could eventually go the way of the Columbus Crew, which is, I know, everybody goes, no, that would never happen. I'm like, oh, really? You don't think that would happen, huh? I'm like, go ahead. Let LAFC go ahead and ramp up and take over the city. Make LA Galaxy turn into the other team that plays in Los Angeles. So you want to be the Clippers? You want to be Chivas USA? You could do that right now. Because right now, Chivas USA would probably play better than the Galaxy played this year.
Yeah, and speaking of LAFC, what's hard to believe or hard to digest is that they haven't played a game yet.
Nope.
They have a coach and maybe two players.
Yep.
They don't have an office building yet, as far as I know. Maybe they do, I don't know. Or a permanent office building. And above all, they don't even have a stadium yet.
Not yet. It's coming. It's coming, and it's going to be gorgeous.
Yeah,
it's an MLS 3.0, 3.5. I mean, I like how we have to give these numbers, but it's going to be the next best thing. And 22,000 seats. Guess what? If the Galaxy had 22,000 seats, great. It would be easy. They'd have sellouts all the time. It's going to look great. They are going to have a lower average attendance than the LA Galaxy will have next year, probably. If everything goes the way it should go, they will have a lower average, and everybody will see them as a giant success because every game will be sold out. If the LA Galaxy had 22,000 seats, they would also have that ability, but they don't. And their stadium is really MLS 1.5, 1.2. It wasn't Columbus Crew, but it was the first modern
But it has great sightlines. It really does. You have to admit, great sightlines everywhere, not a bad seat in the house.
It's a very, very good stadium, all right?
It
But
is.
remember, like 5 years ago or even 4 years ago, people were talking about, oh, of course I want to come to the LA Galaxy. They have the best facilities in the world. Well, they don't anymore.
No.
Atlanta United has a better facilities than the LA Galaxy do. I mean, there are other places that have better facilities. And that's just, by the way, that's just how things go. Eventually, the LA Galaxy are going to have to figure out whether or not they want to go downtown, which is really interesting. Could Los Angeles support 2 downtown soccer stadiums?
Well, it supports 2 downtown NBA teams, so
Why not, right?
why not?
Could you imagine in the United States 2 soccer-specific stadiums in downtown Los Angeles?
How about that?
It could happen.
There are going to be 2 NFL teams in downtown. I mean,
Well, not really downtown.
Well, yeah,
It's-
at a ridiculously overpriced stadium. I can just imagine how much tickets and parking going to be there. Oh, but that's something else.
All right, let's get to the LA Galaxy Team Awards before we start to fill it. I know
Okay.
I feel like we've jumped around a little bit, but I also feel like we had some things we needed to talk about. So I think we got it. LA Galaxy Team Awards. Last time Larry was on, we actually got to pick these, which is cool.
And we were pretty much right on.
Well, yeah, and nobody's surprised. I actually, a little behind the scenes there is that I'm not sure. I was never going to be told if this was the case, but I'll tell you that up until a certain point, there was no votes against either of these 2 players. So it could be unanimous. I would imagine it is, and if it wasn't,
Has to be.
you tear up those ballots. Like who are those people who are voting?
Unless the players voted for themselves and stuffed them in the ballot box or something.
LA Galaxy Player of the Year was Roman Alessandrini. No surprise. He also wins the
surprise.
Golden Boot just because
No
of his
surprise.
13 goals he led
I mean,
the team.
who else could you consider for the Player of the Year? Who else?
Ashley
Cole, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
that was it. But
Yeah,
it was the second.
That's probably the only one.
I thought about it for a little while. I'm like, could I? And then I said no. I
No,
can't.
I couldn't either. I voted for Roman.
LA
He
Galaxy.
had a hell of a year when you think about it. He really did.
He did. He was great. LA Galaxy Defender of the Year, Ashley Cole. No surprise there.
No surprise.
LA Galaxy Humanitarian of the Year, Rafa Garcia, who's a great guy.
Good guy.
We
Good
really-
depth guy.
Yep.
Is he a starter? Probably not.
Maybe not. They gave him all the way down. We didn't vote for the rest of these, by the way. And we don't vote on Humanitarian, by the way. You don't vote on Humanitarian of the Year or Golden Boot. Those are ones that are... Golden Boot is because of how many goals you score. And Humanitarian, I think, is given by the foundation of some of the
so.
guys who help it out.
Good for him.
LA Galaxy 2, Player of the Year is Adrian Vera. Let's see, Defender of the Year, Eric Lopez for LA Galaxy 2. Humanitarian of the Year was Josh Turnley, Defender. Golden Boot was Justin Dillon. Yeah.
You know, speaking of Josh Turnley, I expect him to get a shot with the first team next season. I saw him play a couple times at Galaxy 2. He's a very talented player, former top draft pick from Georgetown, I believe.
Yeah,
I think he might get a shot.
He might. It would be interesting. Player of the Year for the LA Galaxy Academy was Jorge Hernandez, the forward.
Jorge.
Jorge.
And one award they did not announce mercifully was Goalkeeper of the Year. How could they do it? I mean, come on.
I was going to say, I have a list of Galaxy Players of the Year. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Did they ever have one? No, they didn't. Defensive Player of the Year in 1996 was Jorge Campos. That was the goalkeeper.
Man with the pink jersey.
Yep. I'm trying to see if there were other. I'm sure there had.
Not
to
Donovan
have been
Ricketts, huh?
goalkeepers.
I'm surprised he didn't win it.
He did. He won it in 2009. Thank
Okay,
you.
his
There
rookie
you go.
year.
Yep. Yeah.
In fact, I wrote in my preseason preview that year, I said, if Ricketts is good, the Galaxy could be very good.
Yeah, and
they reached the final.
Yeah, they were.
He was tremendous.
Here are the LA Galaxy Players of the Year going back to 2006, just to give everybody a reminder.
On that list, in your opinion, who's the most surprising player of the year? Is the one that stands out?
It's just like, okay, so Eduardo Hurtado in 96, Mauricio
Okay.
Cienfuegos in 97, Kobe Jones was 98, Kevin Hartman in 99. There you go. So a goalkeeper
another
did win
goalkeeper.
Player of the
Okay,
Year.
okay.
2000 was Simon Elliott. 2001 was Ezra Hendrickson. 2002, Carlos Ruiz.
Boy, could they use Ezra Hendrickson in this team.
Yep.
Wow.
2003 and 2004, Kevin Hartman again.
Okay.
Hercules Gomez, 2005. Landon Donovan, 2006. 2007, Chris Klein. 2008, Landon Donovan. 2009, Landon Donovan. 2010, Edson Buttle. 2011, Landon Donovan. 2012,
Landon Donovan.
2012 through 2015, Robbie Keane.
Robbie Keane.
Yeah, and then 2016, Giovanni Dos Santos, who stole the award
Sure
from Jelle
did.
Van Damme.
Sure did.
Yeah, that wasn't even a close. Who's the most surprising on that? I'm sure there are some guys that were Players of the Year in the earlier years that I didn't get to
Probably
watch play.
Dos Santos, I would think. Or the recent list, maybe.
Yeah, at least on the recent list, I will say
Okay.
absolutely. I don't know.
Okay.
Chris Klein in 2007, maybe he was a
remember
pretty good
him.
player.
Yeah, he was. He was.
So that, but yeah, I mean Giovanni Dos Santos, he was good that year. But let's remember, he scored a lot of goals in games that were already decided. And this year, 6 goals, and only 3 of those from the run of play. Woohoo!
Well
yay.
done, Giovanni.
Yeah, and $5.5 million. I mean, there's still some, and there's
Well
people,
done, Giovanni.
There's people. Hey, you got to tip your cap if you can get paid that much.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people who are still, sort of questioning who's coming back, and all that thing. I think we're going to start finding some of that out. It's going to happen rapidly. There isn't a bunch of time. I'll tell you right now, December 12th is the expansion draft. That's when LAFC comes in. December 13th is the waiver draft. 1/12, January 12th, 2018 to January 17th of 2018, MLS Combine.
Where's it going to be held? Down in Florida again?
That is always in Fort Lauderdale, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's in Florida.
I remember one year they had it at StubHub.
They did. I don't think it's gonna happen anymore.
Yeah.
119, January 19th is the MLS draft, the MLS Super Draft, and the Galaxy do have a first round pick. And they will pick second, by the way. They'll pick right behind LAFC, who gets the first pick in the draft, which will be interesting.
Yep.
Maybe they trade it. Who knows?
Would the Galaxy trade up? Would they trade with LAFC? Would they trade up? If there's somebody who stands out as number 1 overall? It's hard to tell.
Why would you?
Yeah.
It's the draft. I'll be honest with you. You're not. I really feel like you're not going to get the. Maybe you do. I was going to say you're not going to get a super impact. In the top 5, you can probably find an impact player. And being the Galaxy are picking 2, I would imagine that they could. I don't know if it's going to be a defender. We really have to see MLS Combine and how that goes.
Yeah, if there's a striker who's out there who really shows some real potential, he could be a real target for the Galaxy.
A target?
Maybe.
A target striker, perhaps?
A target striker.
What do you know?
Jassie's artists would like that.
Yeah, there are a bunch of positions the LA Galaxies need to find
But I think
for.
the Galaxy is going to look overseas for target striker.
It'll be interesting to see what mechanisms they go to try to do these things. They have 3 designated players:
target striker, goalkeeper,
center back,
right back.
Right back. That's probably it. That's the starters.
Yeah,
Those are the
for
starters.
For starters.
You have 4 players that you need to find to fit into the starting lineup, which is crazy. Goalkeeper is super huge and important. I don't think anybody's happy with it. We've already known. Siggy's not happy with the goalkeepers. I've been told by people in the front office that nobody was happy this season.
Would they try to bring back Jaime Pinedo?
I would say yes, actually. I do think that is a realistic
I would inquire
option.
as to his interest in it. I would, because he was very impressive in his short time with the Galaxy. He was very impressive.
He was. I will tell you this, that if the Galaxy...
He never gave up on a play. That's always what I liked about him.
The Galaxy
never gave up.
Don't get better in the midfield and on the defensive line, then I think they're going to have problems. A defensive player, a defensive midfielder...
A hard-nosed player.
Somebody with some physicality to them. You need somebody in there.
Yes, I agree.
Did you know Pete...
A hard-nosed player along the lines of a Nigel de Jong, somebody like that.
Did you know Pete Vagenas almost got traded for Kyle Beckerman back in LA Galaxy days? Whenever
Did not
he was
know
playing?
that.
So the LA Galaxy could have had Kyle Beckerman, but instead they kept Pete Vagenas.
Wow.
Just saying. You want to talk about something that could have changed the course of so many things, Larry? Wow. I think that was in 2008.
I wonder who offered the trade. Was it Real Salt Lake or was it the Galaxy?
I don't remember. I don't remember the exact specifics. But the general manager or the president, was it the president at the time, or general manager was Alexi Lawless? So that's where that all goes back to. That was a bad year. 2008 was not good. It was either 2007, 2008, somewhere in there. Maybe 2006. Galaxy could have had Kyle Beckerman. I mean, hey, just saying. Just saying. Lots of crazy things happen. All right.
As you said, imagine how the fortunes might have changed for this team with Kyle Beckerman.
Would have been interesting. Lots of things. Well, I mean, look at the Sasha Kleshin deal that almost happened that didn't happen.
Bruce wanted him bad.
And he tried to get him 2 or 3 times, and the league just wouldn't happen.
The league said, no.
FC Dallas is the team who you can blame for that.
They sneaked right in and stole him. They sure did.
Well, they basically said they were going to take him, which meant that he wasn't coming, and so then he didn't come, and then eventually New York ends up getting him, and that was the next season even. Really interesting. I mean, you look at the players they almost had, you didn't have. Whole stories and books can be written about things going the right direction. I will make it an observation and a guess for next year. I will say that the LA Galaxy will not be as injured as they were this year, because that I feel like is impossible. That they've had so many injuries this year.
They did have a slew of injuries.
So it'll
freak
be
injuries too.
Real quick, corner of the Galaxy news. We're continuing our podcast, so we're going to stay in the off season. Kevin will be back on Monday night as we record, and then we will have another show, a live show on Thursday. If you go to cornerofthegalaxy.com/live or click on the live banner there, you can go down and you can see all of our show schedule and when we think we're going to do it. Granted, it's not written in stone. Sometimes things come up and we can't do it, but our schedule is there. Other Corner of the Galaxy news. In fact, this is the best news that I can offer everybody right now. One is that this podcast is almost over, so you don't have to listen for too much longer. And then two is that Larry Morgan has decided to join us as a writer on Corner of the Galaxy. So in the 2018 season, Larry and I will be covering the Galaxy from the box. And I think if everything goes well, Larry, you will be out at training maybe once a week.
But I will not wear a sport coat to games. I told you that before. No tie, no sport coat. No, sir. I will not.
Larry, how long have you been covering soccer?
Since 1979, LA Aztecs was my first team with Johan Cruyff and Rinus Michels.
So Larry's been doing this for a while.
Long time.
Larry's a great. And by the way, if my writing sounds any better as you're reading it, it's because Larry's been editing it and making
After
it.
several reads.
It's tough. He has to like.
No, actually, Josh, you have improved a great deal.
He circles words like, "What is this? It's supposed to be the THE. You're supposed to put it right there.
It's apostrophe. Yes, no. But Josh, I'm serious. Your writing has improved a great deal. It really has.
It's because of your mentorship. But Larry's going to do this. This is big, and I'll tell you why I think this is big. We have prided ourselves on being independent here and doing stuff that other people can't do. And Larry is now going to put us in a position to be able to cover training like maybe nobody else has before. And so we will do that. And if Larry ends up writing a notebook once a week on some of the LA...
There's always stuff going on, like either a feature and or a notebook, that's fine. Just I'll be down there maybe once a week at least, maybe once or twice, I don't know.
So
it'd be nice to write again.
That's what I said. And so Larry has carte blanche basically to do that. So we're glad that he could join us here at Corner of the Galaxy. Behind the scenes stuff is after the games, Larry and I go to a table and then we sit across from each other and we write and then we yell back and forth at each other because we both have headphones in.
Without expletives.
Yeah, without expletives, of course. And we say, wait, what did that guy say? And then it's like, wait, did you hear? Go back to this and translate. What did Ashley Cole say?
Because my hearing is so bad. I've lost so much of my hearing over the years from loud sporting events, rock concerts, you name it. And I often have to ask Josh to listen to a recording so I can understand. But at the same time, some of these accents are pretty thick.
They can be.
And it's kind of tough to understand. When you're actually interviewing
you can see
the person,
Yep.
You can understand what he says. When you go back and listen to it, oh boy. Boy.
It's always fun. But anyway, so we're very glad to welcome Larry to the Corner of the Galaxy family, and I'm sure that means that he will fill in on the podcast as well whenever I can convince him to go to Five Guys. That's really all it takes. I go, Larry, do you want to go to Five Guys? And
or
he's like,
In-N-Out Burger.
Or In-N-Out, yeah. And he's like, yep, I'm good. I'll do that. So
Yep.
That's how it works. All right, let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. That's it for right now. Galaxy news will slow down. I imagine that our shows in the off-season will be a little shorter than they normally are.
How much are you looking forward to what happens to this team in the offseason? I am really looking forward to seeing what they do.
We talk about this stuff.
I really am looking forward to seeing what they do, how much they do, and will these moves be the right moves? Because they have to be the right moves. They have to be.
We talk about this a lot. It's talking about like finding the story, right? And so you can get excited about the story. The story for the LA Galaxy whenever they played against Minnesota United was the Galaxy losing, right? And tying the record for the fewest wins. That was the story. And so you almost look at that and you say, wow, it'd be interesting to see what story we would write if that happens. I think it's very interesting to see how we're going to write the story of the offseason, plus how we're going to write a story of this season. I'll be honest with you, every week that I sort of get a little bit removed from the season, I learn more and more information, and the story of the season gets crazier.
And the story is going to write itself.
Yeah,
it's going to write itself.
Yeah, you're not going to have to do much. It's going to be very easy to tell successes and failures with this team.
Yes.
Because anything approximating what they had this year will be a failure. And even, let's say the LA Galaxy compete for a playoff spot next year. Let's say they're competing. They're the 5th or 6th in the Western Conference. They're right on the border. Are they 7th? Are they 6th? Are they good? Is that good enough? And the answer should be no.
And speaking of the playoffs, you have to do a lot, not to make the playoffs, but you have to do a lot to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, you do.
You really do.
You do. San Jose made it with a minus 21 goal differential. I mean, just, FYI. I'm sure Galaxy fans love hearing that. So, anyway, that's where we're at right now. So we will have shows in the offseason. Larry's going to help us out with writing. We're going to have lots of coverage at Corner of the Galaxy. That's all our news. We are having some off-season events as well. We will let you know what those are. We have one very special one coming up. Kevin and I just need to nail down the time and the date, and we will get everybody the information. It will be limited to a select select few people. This is going to be a very special night.
And bring your own booze.
No, maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe
True.
we went
Open bar? Oh, boy, I'm there. I'm there.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that. We'll see. But we want to do something, and so Kevin and I just need to put the finishing touches on that, and then we're going to get together with all the other Corner of the Galaxy hosts and see if we can meet up with everybody and have some fun. But we're going to
Will you post for pictures?
I think we'll post some pictures, maybe even some video. But it's
Okay.
we want to do something special, so we'll see if we can do that. You guys have been amazing. Again, we're not going anywhere. We'll be back next week on Monday. Kevin's supposed to call in with the World Series, of course. Maybe done, maybe not done, maybe in break. However it ends up being. Right now, we'll be able to follow that, and Kevin will be back. And then, obviously, all of our co-hosts, Jared and Corey and Britt and Wendy and Larry, we will all be around here for this off-season as much as we can. All right, Larry, anything else? Are you good?
No, sir. Again, Josh, thank you for the opportunity. I always enjoy it.
Larry, it's always our pleasure. We appreciate it. All right, if you're looking for Larry, you can't find him anywhere. He's not anywhere. He stalks Twitter.
Boy, you like to beat that into the ground, don't you?
Every time. Just he's not. That's one of my big goals this offseason.
I'm on Gmail, but I'm not going to give you the address.
That's it. I bet we can figure it out. Let's see if we can figure it out. Anyway, so the LA Galaxy, Larry is not anywhere. You can't find him. If you want to send Larry a message, go to cornerofthegalaxy at Gmail, send me an email. I'll forward it off to him. Or just use the hashtag Larry Morgan not on Twitter, and I will, of course, try to search that out and
That's
find
a pound
it.
sign. It's not a hashtag.
It's
a pound
hashtag.
sign.
It's a hashtag. That's what all you know. All right. If you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at Guesman, JGUESMAN. Of course, at Galaxy Podcast is where you can find all of our show info as well. You can follow me both places. Go to Corner of the Galaxy at cornerofthegalaxy.com for all of our shows, all of our written articles, all of our podcasts, all that stuff can be found right here at cornerofthegalaxy.com. All right, that does it for right now. For Mr. Larry Morgan, I'm Josh Guesman. You've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. And for all of your independent LA Galaxy news, discussion, and entertainment, including this podcast, head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. Fans, thanks for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everyone.